I think I am live. I think I am live. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings to all. Good morning to some, good afternoon, good evening. Mhm. And today's topic is about freedom of opinion, freedom of speech, the right to your freedom of your speech, of your words. You see me? You should be allowed to express whatever's on your mind. Words. See me? You should be allowed to just making sure it coming through. Yeah, so as I was saying, you should be able to express yourself without being hindered or attacked or ridiculed or whatever you call it by people just because you're expressing what's on your mind. You know, we're all individuals, so I believe we all have the right to speak what is on our mind without being disturbed from another person. You feel me? Because as I said, we're all entitled to our faculties. Right. So where was I? Where was I going to go into? People, relationships, people. Right? Yeah, a lot of people talking about religion. Me myself, I'm not a religious person. I believe if I'm going to class myself as any religion, I would say that I'm all of them because they all stem from the original and bits and pieces taken out to put in the Quran, to put in the Bible, to put in all these religious books. One thing that I do realize with all religions is that they have different gods, but they have the same devil. I never could work that question out. How is it that they have different gods, different principles, but the devil always seems to be the same? It's a bit crazy. You get me? So these are questions that if anybody can answer that one there for me, I'm more than willing to listen and respond if necessary. Yeah, it's puzzling. I talk to so much religious people, Muslims, Christians, and the amount of backbiting, the amount of just sinful crap that they do when they claim that they're so-called, walking the path of the enlightenedness, doing the righteousness, but their righteousness is, if I was following them to try and be better, I'll be better off following myself. And as I said, I don't claim no religion, but I'll be better off walking and doing the way how I maneuver through life. Do you get me? I try not to backbite. I try not to. So then I didn't say I don't. I try not to backbite. And I find myself, if I do, I've already told the person. Or if I haven't told the person when I'm cussing them to somebody else, when I see the person, I'm the type of person that will tell you to your face. I don't like to hide and talk and, go behind people's back and not express to them personally how I feel. So that's the type of character that I am. What I've realized with a lot of people, right, is that they pretend. I know it's like on social media, for instance, they will pretend that they are, you know, um, these positive crystal card readers, you know, will sit on the internet and tell you how to live your life and how to have a prosperous life and, peaceful. And but then on the flip side, in their house is nothing but war and violence. And do you see what I'm saying? And what I've realized is there's a lot of people out there like that. They claim to be these positive, these you get me, like they like Jesus, the way they behave when I see them on YouTube or Facebook. But in real life, do you get me? In the complete opposite. So that just shows me that there's a lot of people, majority of the people that are on social media are frauds. Do you get me? They're not serious. They're not real about what they're on. They just like an audience to wheel off a bag of shaving cream, really. So yeah, that's what I really wanna dig into. People and their lying, deceitful ways. Feel me? Yeah, people and their lying, deceitful ways, bro. Is this thing loud enough? Let me make sure the volume the eye on it. Yeah. So let me see. How can I start this? You know what? I feel like to end it and start it again because I've got. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Right. All right. For instance, all right, let me just get into this thing here. Fuck this. So let me see. Where can I start this at a good point? So parents out there. Let's start on this topic because, as I said, it's opinions, isn't it? Freedom of speech, talking about anything. Let's talk about parents, parenting. Right, it takes two people to create a child, so it's both responsibilities for that child. Right now, I see a lot of disruption and disobedient children. Right, and I hear a lot of adults complaining about the children, how they're disobedient, and all these things. These children are, they're killing each other, the knife crime, the robbery, get me, they've got no manners, they're swearing in front of adults, and all of this stuff that I hear them talk about. But I never hear them say that they're responsible, they're to blame for how these children are behaving. Because speaking from experience, I've got children myself, right? And none of my children behave the way how I see some of these unruly children behaving. And I can only put it down to the parent. Speaking as a parent myself, I know boundaries, discipline, and being, how can I put it, being firm, right? And making sure once is enough. If I tell you to do something, that you might get twice, but it's definitely going to be a third time. It's going to be a punishment because what I do know is this: being out on the street, if you do something wrong in the eyes of the government, you might get a warning the first time. The second time, they're definitely going to punish you. So I feel like it starts within your house before you let your child wander off in the streets. And then when they get caught up in problems, you're complaining about their behavior. When in all reality, it boils down to you as the parent to make sure from the child is young to install certain boundaries. So that way the child knows, there's going to be consequences for their action. But if you don't put down these rules and these boundaries and principles and so on and so forth, then I don't understand how you expect that child to grow up with the morals that you have in mind that you haven't taught the child. I feel like every child, if they're speaking to their parent or you call your child, should respond with yes, daddy, or yes, mommy. Just like when they go to school and they're speaking to their teacher, yes, sir, yes, miss. And then they come home, you call them yes, huh? You're speaking to them, they didn't hear you properly, huh? What? So it's for you as a parent to check them. As soon as you see a mistake, check it. Yeah. And if it happens too much, then as I said, you put a punishment to it so they realize next time when they do the same action, they're gonna freeze and either apologize because they realize like, oops, sorry, it was an accident, and you saw it was an accident, or they just ain't gonna do it because they've remembered that the last time I got punished for it. You know, parents should be working as team, as a teammate. It shouldn't be the child working one parent against another. They know the both parents ain't speaking, so what they do is they use one parent because they know that, you know, them the mother and father are not speaking, so they ask one parent for something. That one might say no, and then because they know they're not speaking, they'll go to the other parent, and that one says yes, and it causes more conflict that was there before with the two adults. The child has made more conflict, but then it's not really the child, it's the adults. Because regardless if two adults are in a disagreement, it should never fall over onto the children. And that's something that I see that happens a lot within. I want to say, well, it happens a lot in all cultures, but I'm gonna speak for my culture, right? I see it with black people, black women, black males. When I speak to them about, you know, relationships and children, family life, usually I get the same story. If they're not together, it's usually problems trying to see their child, right? So when I ask them what was there a problem between you and the child, I get the same answer, no. It's because me and the mother don't get along. She's preventing me from seeing the child. And you know, that's happened to me, and it's happened to so many of my friends and people that I don't know, just been around them, and they're talking to a friend of mine's, and the conversation spirals into relationships and the woman and child. I can't see my child and blah blah blah. So there was a time I was walking around and I used to actually speak to people because I wanted to know how popular in the community that I'm in um, this situation occurs. And as I said, the majority of the people that I stopped and spoke to, they had a similar same situation. So you know, it's a pandemic, so to speak. That's a pandemic because there's a lot of people that are crazy, men, females also, but there's a lot of males out there, right, that are walking up and down and they're on drugs, they're on alcohol, you know, they're going through so many things. And the bottom line of it is usually is a relationship that turned them into the person that they probably would have never turned into had they had the free will like mothers do to, you know, take the responsibility and do what they need to do. Because I can tell you from personal experience, when you love your children, right, and you're doing what you can do for them, and then somebody just, you know, you get into a problem with the mother or vice versa, and you decide to take yourself out of that situation that's occurred, right? You have some women that will just, you know, keep it between you and them. But then you have these women where they will either, like I said, use the child against you, whereas stopping you from seeing the child, or even go an extra step in speaking to the child and telling the child all types of negative stuff about the other parent. Now, whether that parent is telling the child something truthful or lies, if a child is 8 years old, 10 years old, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, they have no business knowing about your personal relationship between the mother and the father. They have no business. It's not their problem because what you're doing, these children that are going to school or going through some form of education are now bearing your problems as well as their day-to-day, you know, tasks that they've got to do fulfill throughout the day. So I've always looked at it as bias. No, you can't try to teach or send your child to school knowing that they've got to bear all your problems and the father's problems, you know, and the crying over them. And this is a lot of stuff that, I mean, this is something that I see frequently as well, is that the mothers be crying over the young children over an incident that they had with the father. Or another one that I've seen is that people don't really click onto is you will have a situation, or not even a situation, you and your child might be playing, yeah, and um, your child gets hurt. Doesn't have to be by you, could have fell over or someone got hurt. But the reason why the child got hurt is because you told them to stop and they continued and they hurt themselves. So it's not a hurt where you're hospital or something real serious, just a minor injury. So you laugh because it's your fault. You put yourself in that predicament. It's now because I'm laughing, you feel necessary to get up and hit me. But I'm your father. So the first thing, in anger, you should never be trying to hit your parents anyway. I would never, in my young days, I wouldn't even have dreamt of trying to hit my dad. Do you get me? And my mum, I wouldn't have hit her, but you know what I mean? Because I knew when I got to a certain age, I'm a bit strong and da 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 da. But my dad, I never thought to myself I'd ever try to. But my son, swing after me attitude, right? So now, this is how you deal with situations like that. Both parents are in the place when the child's doing that. If you're going to send out an order, right, it's got to be to the child. You don't tell the dad or the mum to stop what they're doing to the child, especially if they ain't doing nothing and it's the child hitting the parent. You tell the child not to hit the parent. That's what you do. You don't guard the child when the child's hitting the parent and tell the parent stop it when the parent's not doing nothing to the child. The child's doing something to the parent. So we got to think about our actions, because that there, to me, that's almost telling the child that it's okay to hit the father or to hit the parent, whichever way it goes. You understand that? So we got to be mindful of the actions that we're taking. And how can I say it? Yeah, we just got to be careful on what we're saying and how we act on certain things that's happening in front of us when children are around, because we do some strange things and we're not thinking about the consequences of our actions when we're doing it as adults, trying to teach young people how to grow and be sensible. You understand? And not handle situations how, I've heard many children say, I'll beat up my dad, I'll beat up my mum, and that that type of narrative, right? That ideology right there starts from you not correcting that child from the age of 3 coming up. You see what I'm saying to you? A lot of parents send their children to school, and I've noticed this as well, is that before sending your children to school, you've gained some understanding with your child in those 3 years of you taking responsibility and not sending them nowhere. Then what happens is you send them to school, and within the first week or two, because of the other children, excuse me, because of the other children in the school, what happens is they take on some of the children's ways. Your child will take on the other children that they've encountered with. They will take on and they will see new stuff in it. So obviously they'll see children crying, and obviously it's not their parents, or the teachers will attend to them and try to comfort them. Whereas at home, you might know your child's crying for no reason, for a silly reason, so you ignore them, which is kind of like you're in your teaching stages of that child. If you cry for nothing, you're gonna get nothing, and I'm not gonna give you your attention. But then when you send them to school, it's the opposite. So you might have been doing that for the first few years, and you've accomplished what you was trying to gain with that child. But then now you've sent them to school, they've now picked up other children's ways and came back home with it. Now, some parents understand that, but some parents don't. They just think this child is just, acting nuts. You spent all this time correcting this child. They were just doing well. Now I've sent them to school and they've just gone straight back to square one. See, this is, to me, these are the problems that I've faced as well within schools. One of the main reasons why I took my children out of school, you know, a teacher telling me that my child done something wrong. And then there's me speaking to my child and my child saying to me, no, dad, I didn't do that. They're lying. So it's a catch-22. I can go back in there and say, well, I believe you, my son's a liar, right? Or I can just say, do you know what? I believe my son because that's my child. I'm not going to believe a complete stranger. I've just met you. My son's been going here for 1 year. I've had my son for like 6, 7 years, continuously every day. This is a job for you. You're getting paid. And this is, this is not a job for me. This is for the rest of my life. I have to look after this child. So I'm not gonna allow someone to tell me my child's doing wrong and my child to tell me that he isn't doing wrong. And I'm gonna believe the stranger over my own child. So school is a dangerous thing because I do know children, just like the police. I've been arrested for things that I didn't do. So, that happening to me, it was a major dislike to the police force because as far as I was concerned, I wasn't even doing anything. I was sitting down, they pulled up, harassing me. Then I got arrested for assault on an officer, which I didn't even assault. So same thing can happen to a child. So I'm very reluctant to believe a stranger over my child. So the best thing to do, because I'm going to continue to have arguments with the teachers, is to take them out. Then it's all my responsibility. If something goes wrong, I have to blame myself. If my child's not educated well, I blame myself. And the beautiful thing about it is you get to spend so much time, quality time, learning everything you need to know about your child. Most children are in school for so many hours. By the time they come home, parents are working. You get in, you cook a meal, you might have half an hour, 45 minutes social time. And then before you know it, it's bedtime, Groundhog Day, back to square one, school, same thing, until the weekend. And then usually on the weekend, the children want to play out. Depending on their age, they want to play out or you're going to take them out. So it's quality time, but it's not that, that like in your house with your children for, maybe a week straight, working. You might go to the park for a break, come back in, shopping maybe, but you're in. So most of the time you're spent around your children and you're getting to learn them. Yeah, you're getting to learn everything about them, whether good or bad, the food they like, even though you know these things, but you know it in more depth. And at such a young age, you'll be surprised on the things that your young children can achieve once you're installing. Whatever you want that child to learn, you could take the time out and really dig and push that information into that child. You could spend 1 week on one topic, when you're not going to school. When you're in homeschooling, you can do what suits you. It's not 6, 5 subjects on one day. The child leaves school a bit confused because it done different. I can just do that for the week. If it's science, we do science for the week. We do maths for the following week. We do English for the following week. We do geography. We do chemistry, whatever it is. I can spend a day. So I know when I finish with him or with my daughter, I know that it's fully stuck in their brain, And there's so much stuff for us to learn that we're not learning in school. We don't learn business. We don't learn how to plant food. We don't learn how to solve our money issues, how to save. The main things you need when you leave school they don't teach you. That's what I believe. When I was going to school and I left school, nothing they gave to me in school I used. And I came out and I wasn't really educated, I would say. I had to go and pick up books and I had to re-educate myself. And as I was doing that, I realized a lot of the stuff they were teaching me was nonsense. A lot of the history they spoke about was nonsense. It was a created story to suit the narrative of the so-called people that's in control, right? Because in reality, we shouldn't have nobody controlling us. The only control you should have is over your own children, over your family members. We telling other people what to do. I'm telling a complete stranger what rules and regulation he should be living by. Bullshit. None of these things are real. Like, it's an illusion, but again, because so much people are under the illusion or hypnotized, it's hard for people to get out of the situation they're in until more people wake up and we start addressing the people that needs to be addressed. People's forgotten that the government was put in place because the people put them in place to protect and serve the people. The laws were put, or should I say they were drafted up amongst kings and high officials, right? And then, collectively, the people saw the rules and regulations of what they put for the people, right? And just to break it down simply is fairness, integrity, diligent. This is the oath. Sorry, that's the oath that the police constables swear to uphold, right? And within the, would you say the Bill of Rights, yeah, that's the rights to protect the civilians out there in the street. So when the police bother you, you're supposed to exercise your Bill of Rights. But again, most people don't know about these Bill of Rights because they don't teach us this. We live in a law society which doesn't teach us anything about law. The only time we find out is when we end up in the police station and they send us to court and then they tell us to get a solicitor. Again, because they don't want us to know for some strange reason. But as time went on, as I said, I'm a person that things happen to me. And when they happen and I can't understand how they have the powers to do it and I don't, then I question it. I need to find out why. So going into my research, trying to find out how the police became police, how whoever became who they came, how they happen to have these powers to tell people what they can and can't do. And then when I started to research and find out this information, I started to realize that the whole of this is a hoax. It's a complete bloody hoax. It's as simple as this. It's like, all right, there was a time when there was no driving license. Nobody needed a driving license. So what they did, just to give you an example of how they get these legislation, acts, statutes, to tell you how they get them. So they decided, look, how can we make some money? And said, you know what? If we get some gruesome pictures of people with their bones broken and blood coming out of them and crushed face and all these types of, you get me, like off-key pictures of people that are dead or just really badly injured. They put that up and they say, look, such and such people have died, serious accidents, because they didn't have a seatbelt on or because they didn't take, a driving test. It should be a driving test. So then they put that out there with the pictures and saying, yeah, it would be smart for people to undergo some form of test before they are allowed to drive, right? And with the pictures of all these people that are crashed in cars and, you know, twist up and bend up, obviously the audience that they're putting it out to, we see these gruesome pictures and we think, wow, yeah, we do need to get a license or, you know, some form of, you know, driving experience before we go on the road. But the thing is, that's cool. You having some form of lessons to learn how to drive before you drive. But all this money that we pay for license, tax, MOT, insurance, right? All this petrol, oil for the car, water, all these other little bits and pieces, services, and all that we pay for the car. Outside of the money that we pay on our car, like, you know, service and blah, blah, blah. The rest of it, I don't understand. Insurance, where does that money go to? Tax, they say, is to fix the road. The roads are always being fixed. They're never perfect. Yeah, with all this money, all the cars that's on the road, there shouldn't be a broken road out there. Every road should be perfect, right? So people are insured for, some people are insured for 20, 30, 40 years. And guess what? They've never crashed in the 30, 40 years they've been driving. They've never crashed. But when they decide to give up driving, say they say, all right, you know what, I've been driving for 40 years. I feel like I don't want to drive no more. I'm going to hand my license in. And they've never crashed. Why don't they get back the money that they spent on the insurance? Where does that money go to? Who gets that money? Do you understand? All these cars out here paying insurance, MOT, tax, all these things they pay for. What happens to that money? You know, so these are the things that we should be addressing. We should be going at these people like how they go at us for, you know, when they want TV license, they want electricity bill, they want gas bill. All these things are fucking free, mind you. Electricity, it comes from nature. Same thing with gas. You get me? Like, these people are so fucking cunning. They will sell you electricity that is created by nature, and they will sell you gas that is created by nature. They will sell you food that is created by nature. Think about it. Like, these plants outside, the trees, nobody owns them. They were all here before every human being that exists today, right? These trees have been there way before us. Yeah, the seeds that we use to grow our vegetables, our fruits, have been there decades, millenniums, whatever you want to call it, before us, before people. So again, someone came with an idea, put their food in packages, put it on a shelf, and said, you people can come here and buy this. And people thought to themselves, do you know what, that would be so handy, rather than, you know, waiting for my food to come out of the soil. I'll just go down the market and I can just pick up what I want without even finding out where these products come from, what they've gone through. It just looks nice on the shelf. It's got a pretty package. I'm going to buy it. And I feel like half of the time that's what we're paying for, is the package. We're not even paying for the product. It's the package that we're paying for, because they have to make the package. But the products are natural. Well, even that is questionable now, isn't it? Because the GMO and all this stuff, the adjectives, the preservatives, do you get what I'm saying? So there's so much stuff that they're doing as to why we need to be taking full control of our children, because the food they're eating, the environment, you know, the company. So there's so much obstacles out there, right, put in place, that if we're not careful and we're not smart enough, we would allow our children to be set up by a system that is designed to set you up. And as you notice, anybody that speaks, you know, outside the box or opposite from the majority is a nutter. Well, they try to label you like you're mad, or you're not going to go and get a vaccine, or you're not going to go and do this. And that, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not synthetic. I know I'm going all over the place, but I did say it's opinions, isn't it? Free speech. And as I get with it, I just flow. So as I was saying, yeah. So I was saying about the system, the system. System's corrupt. I know I dropped from something because I flipped into that. But anyway, to the point, because I think it's all over the place. But the system is corrupt. And throughout all my research in the way how they perform, the way how, you'll have scientists that are not biased. They just interested in the work they do. So they're not working for no organization, and they come across information which they put out public, right? So it's out there. They also have books. There's been no scrutiny towards the work that they put out. And this, mind you, is way before the corona and all this madness that's going on now. So the information is cool. All of a sudden now, this corona business comes out and all this information in these books are now no good. And I'm like, how does that work? These books were published in 1990 and in the 70s and blah, blah, blah. And it took all this time to the COVID to come out. For you to start saying, no, that's false information. No, we can't pay attention to that. But besides all of that, what I want to say to you is if you use your common sense, yeah, I've home birthed. And when I home birthed my children, they didn't have no vaccines. None. No jabs, no pricks, no nothing. Right? My last child that I gave birth to, we left the umbilical cord on and it fell off in a week. Naturally, by itself, just dropped off. Yeah, we kept it in a little basin and we put essential oils on it to keep to make it have a sweet aroma. Because obviously, if you leave it for a certain period of time, obviously the house is warm, it will start to smell. So we put some ointments, essential oils to keep the freight, make it smell nice. Then after a week, as I said, it dropped off. We buried it in the garden. Now that child that I'm talking about is now going on 4 years old. No vaccines, um, none of the stuff that they will suggest that you need to put into your child. We did none of them. And I used to take her to when she was a little, like one, just when she was crawling and stuff. I used to take her to the park. She'd crawl on the grass. No problems. So for them to say to us now, right, and as far as I'm aware, from what I read, babies' immune system is very low and very weak. The breast milk helps to develop the brain, helps to develop the immune system. So now I'm sure everybody knows this. Do you get what I'm saying? They've always put that narrative out. Breast milk, healthy for the baby, helps to develop the baby quicker, boom, 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 boom. So obviously, if it's helping to develop the baby, it's telling you that the baby immune system is weak. Just in these word plays they use. So even if they don't say that, you just know this, right? So my children, if anything, they're more vulnerable to me. When they say the children are not vulnerable to getting it, I couldn't understand it because I would feel like the children are more vulnerable, just like they say the elderly. And the reason why they say the elderly is because the immune system is what? Weak. Same like the children, right? So it's like weird concepts, weird answers they keep coming up with. So now me as an adult, I know that I'm natural in it. And I understand the difference between natural and synthetic, right? Now, if I'm natural and you put something that's not natural inside of me, right? Of course, there's going to be consequences. Maybe you might not realize it now, maybe not even for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But based upon the research of these scientists before the biasness, right? When they speak about mercury and they speak about certain ingredients that are put into food that we eat, forget about the vaccines, just food that we eat has a profound side effects later on in years. They say that it could take 20 years. You know, people get dementia, people get cataract or whatever you call it in their eye. People get you know, become disabled. You know, all different stuff that happen to people had they not had vaccines, had they not lived a life of pharmaceutical um, medicines, pharmaceutical. It's not natural. It's all chemicals put together to serve a purpose they want. Because the funny thing is, none of us are actually present when they're making these concoctions to give to the people. And they're making these concoctions without even asking the whole entire people, do they want it? You know, you might ask 100 people, five might say yeah, and the 95 says nah. You know, you can't just ask a few set of people to validate billions of people, because that's the same thing that what's his name doing? What's his name? Bill Gates. He's doing the same thing. He is coming up with a concoction, which is cool if you're coming up with it for yourself, but you're coming up with a concoction to give to people that didn't even ask you to come up with something for them. And then you're turning around and saying that they need to take it. And then you're putting out narratives as if they don't take it, that they're a problem, or, you know, we need to look into those people. And if anything, we need to take actions against them. Soon it will come to that. Like people that don't want to take it, we need to take actions against them, or it's already been spoken. Fines. They want to fine people who doesn't wear a mask and who's not in their house when they're supposed to be. Like all this dumb shit. Now, to me, that's playing God. And the thing is, if you can't show me a contract where I've signed or where God signed and gave you the authority to do what you're doing, then what you're doing is you're hoodwinking the people. You know, you're putting a blindfold over their eyes and telling them to wander off into fucking darkness. That's basically what they're doing, you know? Um, yeah, so you know, there's so many things going on in the world today that people are talking about, and it's just like it's frustrating. More time when I hear them talking about people saying, "Oh, you know, we should go to the, we should be going to the law people and telling them what to do and blah." No, you don't need to tell them what to do. What you need to do is learn the law. Then when they come to you and they're doing something outside of the law, then you get them because they're acting outside of the law. So therefore, that's negligence. That's whatever you can draw for. That's what you do. You learn the law, especially with the beginning stage with dealing with constables. So you learn the basic principles of what they can do, what their job title, what their role is, right? And once you learn their role and what they can and can't do, whenever they approach you, you're prepared, because you know if he does something outside of it, he's acting, I think it's called ultra virus, outside of the color of law. Yeah. And you can punish him because he's not upholding the law that he swore to protect. Most police officers that I encounter with, they're aggressive, they're rude, right? A police officer, he's there to uphold the peace. When he comes on the scene, he should be trying to keep the peace, not escalating it or patronizing people and antagonizing to the point where you want to beat him up. You might have called him to help, and then it turns around where you feel like you want to do something to him because of the way how he's dealing with you. It doesn't seem like he's trying to make the situation better. It almost seems as though he's either helping the other party or he's just here to just cause more confliction. It was better off he didn't even come, because the situation could have probably been solved without him there. Now, the problem which lied with this person has now turned over to the blasted police. You know, so I think the best thing is learn the basic principles of law, right? when a policeman approaches you, ask him, is he working in accordance to the oath he swore to be a constable, right? That's the first thing you want to identify from him, that he's working in accordance to the oath he swore to be a constable. Because that oath he swore on, he has to abide it. He has to follow it. You feel me? He has to follow it. And if he doesn't and you catch him, the first thing is another key thing is, as soon as they approach you, your phone, take your phone out and start recording. Live stream it or whatever you want to do, but record it, because that's your evidence. He's always going to approach you with another constable or with a few constable. And the reason why they do that is for witness purposes. So they will have their camera and they will have a colleague, and everything you say, as they tell you, everything you say. So don't get confused and think that, oh, I only said no and I only said yes. Anything you say can and will be used against you. So your own words, no matter what you say, could be used against you in a court of law. So when someone says something like that to you, the best thing for you to do, say nothing. Or if you're going to say something, you've got to say the right things. Are you working according to the oath you swore to be a constable? You're asking him those type of questions. Am I obliged to answer your question? Am I being detained? Am I free to go? These are the things you ask him, because he can't use that against you. And another thing that you can do is mirror him. When he says that to you, you say it back to him. No, anything you say will and can be held against you, because I don't accept what you're trying to tell me. But anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand? You feel me? This is how we got to deal with them. We just got to learn what they can do and what they can't do. And once we've learned that, it's a bit of an open door for you there. You've got more of a room to play around in. But if you don't know nothing about nothing, then obviously when they approach you, the first thing you're going to do is get upset, but that's not going to help you. And in that upset process, you're going to be talking a lot. And that talking, as I just told you, could be used against you. So it's about, keeping calm at all times. I know it's hard sometimes because you're thinking, how does this stop me randomly for no reason? But keeping calm, thinking before you speak, right? And all you're doing is asking questions. Don't get into a conversation, just ask questions. You ask you something, you ask him back a question, right? Consent is what happened? My stream end. What's going on? I think my stream ended, bro. Yo, what's going on? How come my thing's like it's froze or something? It's like it's froze. Yeah, these pagans probably onto me, but they probably said, yeah, it's giving them a bit too much. I didn't even plan to come on here so long, and I didn't even plan to talk about what I was talking about. I had something else in mind, but mine just went somewhere else. But what I will do, worst way, is jump back on a little later. Oh, it stopped as well, that's what I'm saying, so it's not even going. Pretty simple, it's not going. I had something else in mind, but something else. But what I will do, worst way, is jump back on a little later. Sometimes it's still playing. It is going, but the screen's not moving. I mean, I know what I go on from what I go on. Brothers and sisters, I don't even get it. Like, it's frozen on my screen, but then at the same time, see, it's still going. But anyway, look, I'll come back on a little later. For some unknown reason, it's just stopped. Peace and blessings. It's still not gonna stop, isn't it? brothers and sisters that are gay that's frozen on my screen. Same time. Me not know what I got. Anyway, look, I'll come back on all later. Some unknown music is just please, left one. No. We don't know what that one, but it's like the camera's still watching me, but